The courtroom was buzzing with whispers even before the hearing began, the air heavy with tension as if everyone present knew that something extraordinary was about to unfold. Sitting quietly near the front, still and unshaken, was a man whose presence seemed to command respect without him saying a single word. He wore the crisp, decorated uniform of a tomb guard, the kind of uniform that symbolized not just military discipline but an oath to protect the most sacred resting places of fallen soldiers. Yet instead of being honored, his appearance stirred murmurs of disapproval from the prosecution's side of the room, and soon, the judge himself noticed. With a sharp voice that cut across the hall, the judge ordered the tomb guard to leave the courtroom, declaring that his uniform was a distraction, and not proper attire, for the proceedings. Gasps rose from the gallery. How could anyone dismiss such a symbol of duty and sacrifice so coldly? The guard, however, remained composed. His eyes locked on the judge with neither anger nor defiance but with the kind of calm resolve that suggested he already knew the storm that was coming would soon expose truths far greater than the insult hurled at him. As the tomb guard stood to leave, the heavy sound of his boots against the polished floor echoed louder than any gavel, each step carrying the weight of history and tradition. People shifted uncomfortably in their seats, some averting their eyes, others staring in disbelief at the judge's audacity. But the real story wasn't the uniform. It was what the guard had come to testify about, something so powerful it could shake the entire foundation of the court case. Lawyers on both sides exchanged uneasy glances. They knew that dismissing him might cost them dearly, but none dared to speak against the judge. The guard paused at the courtroom doors, his hand resting on the handle, as though silently asking the room whether justice was truly blind, or whether it was being blinded deliberately. For a moment, the silence was so deep you could hear the faint hum of the fluorescent lights. Then, in a voice that carried more authority than the judge's, the guard said, "If the court does not allow truth in its uniform, then perhaps it is not truth that this court seeks." His words were not shouted, not dramatic, but steady and chilling, the kind of words that lodge themselves in the conscience of everyone who hears them. And with that, he stepped outside, leaving the room in stunned silence. The judge, visibly unsettled, tried to regain control of the courtroom, banging his gavel as if the sound alone could erase the weight of what had just been said. He declared that the court would proceed without the witness, but the unease in the gallery only grew. Reporters scribbled furiously, capturing every detail, while some jurors exchanged uncertain glances. For them, the absence of the guard meant more than just missing testimony. It was a symbol of something being hidden, something too dangerous for the court to face openly. Outside the courtroom, the guard did not storm away in anger. Instead, he stood tall in the hallway, unmoving, almost like a sentinel at his post. Those who passed by lowered their voices, some offering nods of respect, others whispering prayers under their breath. Inside, the defense lawyer, clearly frustrated, rose to object to the dismissal, arguing that the guard's testimony was not only relevant but essential to the case. The judge silenced him sharply, but the damage was already done. The seed of doubt had been planted, and the courtroom could no longer ignore the feeling that something greater than a legal technicality was unfolding right before their eyes. As the minutes dragged on, tension only thickened. Suddenly, a commotion at the back of the room broke the fragile silence. A messenger entered, clutching a sealed envelope, his face pale as though he carried a burden heavier than paper. The judge frowned but allowed the bailiff to receive it and bring it forward. When the judge broke the seal and scanned the contents, his face drained of color, his hands trembling ever so slightly. He tried to compose himself, but it was clear the document carried revelations that threatened to unravel the very case he thought he controlled. The lawyers leaned in, desperate to see what it contained, but the judge quickly folded it shut, refusing to share its contents. "Irrelevant," he muttered, his voice quivering, before ordering the court to move on. But the jurors had already seen enough. His reaction spoke louder than the sealed letter. Whispers surged through the room, and all eyes darted toward the door, where the tomb guard still stood outside, silent, waiting, as if he had known all along that the truth would find its way in, even without him. The suspense was unbearable, and everyone felt the trial was no longer about guilt or innocence, it was about exposing something much darker hidden beneath the surface. By now, the once confident judge seemed restless, wiping sweat from his forehead, his hand trembling slightly as he shuffled papers that suddenly seemed meaningless. The defense seized the opportunity, demanding once again that the tomb guard be allowed to return, insisting that the jury had the right to hear his testimony. The courtroom erupted with divided voices, some calling for justice, others defending the judge's authority. It was chaos until the heavy wooden doors creaked open once more, and to everyone's shock, the tomb guard re-entered the room, not by invitation but escorted by a high-ranking officer in full military attire. The sight froze the entire court into silence. The officer's presence was undeniable proof that the guard's uniform was not a distraction but a symbol of official duty, sanctioned at the highest levels. The guard stepped forward, his eyes steady, his voice unshaken as he said, "I was dismissed for my uniform, but the truth I carry cannot be dismissed." The judge's gavel clattered uselessly against the bench as murmurs swelled into a roar. What would be revealed next was something no one in that room was prepared for, and the shock was only just beginning.